Hi, Susan, it's Laura. Let me see if I can turn my video on. I only
Okay.
just downloaded Zoom on my new computer, so I think it's all like, oh, there we go.
There she
Hey,
is.
I met Susan, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. We were on doing a NASCAD community class together. So I hadn't realized that she had worked like in government and stuff beforehand. So that was kind of an interesting spin on the book that when I read it. But I had texted her or emailed her a couple of days ago, just saying like how raw and needed it was, because I have a lot of health issues, and it gives it validation on what like you felt as a patient and what maybe your family was feeling like, even if like you weren't in a nursing home, but if you were in the hospital, it gave the same kind of thing. And the other thing that was fascinating to me was with you and your brother, and like your brother, and kind of like it made me think of siblings of my mother, because they would ignore me because I have Crohn's, and like they were like, oh, you can just have a salad, da da da, you don't need to not like eat before you go out. And I was just like, it was like just like totally over their head. It was like they were in a totally different world. So that's what it made me think of, was them kind of just like on another planet.
Yes, and and thank you, Laura. And I just want to say that Laura has made a lot of interesting art around her experience. So do you have a website, Laura? Because people should look up,
Yeah, I can look it up. So I've done a lot of embroidery work on my chronic illnesses, and I had a $10,000 grant with Arts Nova Scotia a few years ago, and I was in the Beaverbrook Atlantic Canadian Artist Show a few years ago. So my textile work is all based on my chronic illnesses. So I'll just post
I would say check that out. And I also want to say, Laura, that's why I called the book Dying for Attention, because it's so easy for us, and I am guilty of this as well, of ignoring things we don't want to see or are uncomfortable to see, and rationalizing them away, or it's all too easy, because it is hard work to pay attention. It is hard work to try and understand another experience that's vastly different from your own. But it behooves us, I think, as human beings to make the attempt, however flawed the attempt might be, however difficult it is. I think it's something that we should encourage each other to do. I think isn't there some more curiosity, less judgment? Definitely.
yeah.
More questions, less advice, perhaps.
For sure. And I find that like I have a friend who has undiagnosed pain right now, and we're kind of these like two pain buddies, like because I have fibromyalgia and Crohn's, and I've had 2 heart surgeries. So I have a lot going on, but the two of us, I find like if we're having like a pain day where it's like 8 or 9 and like we can't really do anything, we'll just be able to text each other and just be like, this sucks, like how you doing, kind of thing. So I find that is one of the main things that like has helped, is finding somebody who actually gets it, because otherwise it's like everybody, like you could say that you get it, but you don't get it until like it happens to you, right? And it also made me think, like I was really close with my grandmother, and we had help with her at her house, but like when I was over, I would help her go to the washroom and with her walker and all that stuff. And it was interesting, like my elderly neighbor fell in her washroom like about 2 years ago, and the daughter came, who was in her 50s, and like she didn't know how to get like even how to like, and I was like, you need to get this. I said, get her walker. Where's her walker? I said, you need to move all those rugs because that's a slipping hazard. And it was just weird to me that like I knew this stuff as somebody in their 20s, and like she didn't seem to have like it. Maybe the same thing was happening with hers, but she was just not seeing her mom as older. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of denial goes on with aging. And just to your point about support, I think in your book, in my book, I have a little section about daughters of the near dead. So that was a humorous look at all the other daughters who were on the family council at this nursing home. And we did become friends, and we did support each other, and we looked out for each other's mothers as well.
I just want to, a really good discussion, and thank you, Laura. We have a lot more comments and questions here, and Allison Kent raised her hand, so I'm going to let Allison speak.
Yeah, just Susan, I just want to validate your work here. I think it's actually quite important to say this stuff because I think it's actually helpful for government. There are people who want to act, who want to make changes. And when they can hold something up like this and say, look, see, this is what's going on. It's a way to generate funding. So don't just think that you're kind of pounding on the system as a criticism. It can actually be a really good tool for people who are trying to affect change. So don't be too down on yourself about that, is what I guess I'm saying.
That's such a great point. And Allison, and Kim Fraser says she wants to know, I'm wondering if you've reached out to government and or healthcare organizations to share your story. What was their response? If not, do you plan to? And in fact, I know that our new Minister of Seniors and Long-Term Care has the book. Plans to read the book and was invited this evening. I don't see Barb here, but the Minister of Health has expressed an interest. It's been sent to the ministers, Nova Scotia Health, deputy ministers. So we're anxious to hear their reactions to it for sure. Susan, did you want to speak any further to that?
I just wanted to say, I did try to be fair to government because we're all trapped in this system. And I also wanted to make clear that government communicators have a lot of integrity. There's no, okay, I guess there is spin, but it really is about highlighting the positive and maybe minimizing the negative, but nobody lies, nobody openly misleads, nobody, I found that was one of the first things I learned is how do you tell your minister that he can't say that because it's not true? Did you go through that, Heather?
Never. No, never.
never. Okay.
No.
Right. So yeah, politicians coming into government don't realize the extent of accountability that is required of civil servants and of politicians. And that's, anyway, I just wanted to make sure that I was clear on that, but
Good
yeah.
point.
But Allison, yes, thank you. Yeah, I hope it can be used.
Kim Fraser has a question for you.
Well, hi, that was kind of my question earlier. But I guess I was thinking more, I totally agree with what you've said, but I'm thinking to really push getting on their agenda, presenting at meetings, talking about your experience to keep the conversation going. And that, even any healthcare organization that works with older people and caregivers, to offer to chat or at their conference. I find that we really have to push when we want to get on those agendas. So I was just wondering, have you attempted, other than sending your book out and saying, hey, by the way, I wrote this book, have you attempted to ask them about meetings that are upcoming and will they feature you?
Heather's on the case. Heather has a background in communications with continuing care, and she knows the roads into those kinds of conferences. And as well, I'm hoping that there'll be some uptake with schools, that where continuing care workers are taught, where nurses are taught, where doctors are taught, to understand better the family experience of their decisions. So yeah,
Well, and the other place that might be, I don't know if you've connected with, is the Nova Scotia Family Caregivers Association. I just thought of them because, of course, I work with the Alberta caregivers and we work in concert with them. But I know you and I will be talking lots offline anyway. And just a shout out to Sam Hester. I love the work that you do, Susan, with your graphic novel, very innovative. And I know Sam has done some work with me in Alberta. And so I think you're absolutely right. Finding different ways to tell the stories is awesome.
And
Yeah,
I think
so-
if any, sorry, Susan, I was just going to say, if anyone has inroads to any of those organizations, I know we would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
And speaking of Sam Hester in Calgary, Sam says, I was late joining this call because I was visiting my mom who has dementia at her long-term care home. I was helping her figure out the difference between her phone and her TV remote by drawing pictures of them for her. I'm very much looking forward to being inspired by your book. Congratulations. So that's from Sam Hester. We have a question from Catherine.
Wait, can I just say? Can I say
I'm sorry.
Just one thing I want to say. Kim is writing a book called The Accidental Caregiver, which is in the same territory as I am, and she got an agent and a publisher. Yay! So
Wow.
Kim's book will be coming out, I think, next spring, and Kim and I are thinking about how we might join forces. And
Absolutely.
yeah,
Congratulations, Kim.
yeah. And the Sam Hester I met through this wonderful organization called Graphic Medicine that I want to send props to, which is the intersection between the discourse of healthcare and the comic arts. And Sam Hester gave a presentation at the last Graphic Medicine online conference about how she was drawing in order to communicate with her mother's caregivers. So I thought, well, that's brilliant. Anyway, so shout out to Sam too.
That's amazing. Thank you. So Catherine, then Deborah MacLeod, then John Barker. So Catherine.
Is it Catherine Farrellbeck?
I'm not sure. It just says Catherine. Does Deborah MacLeod have something she'd like to say?
Well, nothing very important. I was trying to put it into the chat. I have to admit, I feel very pessimistic about getting any significant change in long-term care as it's structured. But the most hopeful thing is to have a crowd or a horde of Susans in long-term care. And so one of the things I think your book does, Susan, is really highlight the way in which people with passion and heart in centers like they make such a huge difference. You did obviously for your mom, but it wasn't just for your mom. It was also for all of the other people that you came in contact with. And just that idea that you were connected to other people's adult children and that you were supporting each other and each other's parents is pretty powerful. And to me, that kind of informal grassroots connectedness and support is what is most likely to humanize long-term care. I don't have much hope given financial constraints and I'll leave it at that, given financial constraints, that we're going to get very good care in long-term care without a lot of volunteer hours and a lot of models for how do you interact, how do you think about, how can you help, which I think your book did a really good job of highlighting. In spite of it being a lot about the dilemmas, there was also a lot of hopefulness in that to me.
Well, and
So
I
thank
think,
you for that.
thank you, Deb, and I see your point of view completely. I think we all have to look at ourselves and how we contribute to ageism. I think that's one thing. And the second thing, which now it's slipped my mind, just a second. Oh yeah, Deb, I was going to ask, what if we had more female leadership, like in government? We've got lots of female leadership in healthcare. I don't know. I sometimes think, not to slag men, but there's a male principle and there's a female principle, and it doesn't matter what gender you are, you can inhabit those. But right now, our society seems leaning way more towards the so-called masculine principles of power and competition, and less so towards the more so-called feminine principles of cooperation, care, consideration.
It's not unique to long-term care either. These are the very same issues that exist throughout healthcare.
Yeah.
And having had a 40-year career of trying to improve people's experience of care and feeling largely unsuccessful in really creating any lasting change. I think it has much more, I mean, I think that what you're thinking about in terms of masculinity, femininity, and dominant principles, sure, there's an element of that, no doubt about it. I think more foundationally, it's the model of, it's a social model of our economy that is dominant. And so we
yeah.
can label that more masculine or not, but we have not based our economy on the things that matter. We've based it on GDP.
GDP competition is a big factor in our economy. And in my book, I quote Tara Henley, who says, things won't change unless capitalism moves away from exchange of good, like what is good in terms of exchange and trade of goods and services, to what is good for life, and not just human life, but the planet.
The planet
How
and
can the
well-being.
economy support life instead of trade? I'm not an economist, but that struck me, what she said.
I like that.
Yeah.
Such an important conversation. I love what Deb said. We need a herd of Susans. That's exactly what we need. And maybe some of us today will leave this call and say, I'm going to join in the movement, the Susan movement. We have a message here, speaking of hopefulness, from Marieland Mike. I see Susan's book and Susan herself as a catalyst for change in long-term care. Shining a light on humans through her lived experience is critical for change. Thank you. John Barker, are you there? You had a question or a comment?
I don't know them. Maybe I'm not too familiar with Zoom, so I may have touched buttons that I wasn't intending to. Susan, I'm delighted to be part of this book launch, and yes, I got my copy yesterday, and Mary's already started working her way through it. I lost out. It arrived here, and she took possession before I could even put my hand on it. So there we go. But no, I think two things that I could comment. One, I really hope that you do get some of these speaking engagements so that you can talk to the people that could make a difference. But the other thing, that's one of the things that struck me listening to you today was how we need to be aware of the things that we can do. As you said, as you became more familiar with the nursing home where your mum was, you started talking to the people as you came in, and what a difference that made in people's lives. And it really, as someone who's been through some of this, I really can see, how it makes, instead of just walking in and seeing one person, you see the other people and the lived lives there. So thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, don't ever underestimate the power of just small gestures of kindness. I think that's become a cliche now, but there's a big impact. And John's mother and my mother, I think, were cousins, so we're second cousins. So we go back to England, don't we, John?
Yes, we do. Yes.
Yes.
Just glad to be here.
What a wonderful conversation and dialogue. We have two more comments in the chat, and then going to throw it over to Susan, because I know that she shared with me and others many times that she didn't really do this alone, and she has a lot of people to thank for getting her from there to here. Rick Alexander says, warmest congratulations, Susan. I have really enjoyed The Humans of St. Vincent and look forward to reading the book. Even more so, listening to the serious conversation it is stimulating this evening. I am on a waiting list at the Bookmark because they've sold out, and it's great to see Heather and Sue McCaig here.
Yeah. Rick was our boss. Rick was
our boss. Yeah.
Heather, Sue, and I all reported to Rick, and it was delightful. He's delightful.
He's an awesome boss.
An
He's an
awesome
awesome
boss.
boss.
Yeah.
Deb Patterson says, Susan, you know, we consider ourselves so very fortunate to have you and John, both such inspiring individuals in our lives. I sat down and read your book cover to cover in one sitting. It touched me on so many levels. So did Andre Picard. He's with the Globe and Mail, get a copy. I think the last page, 184, we'll all take a note of this. Page 184 should be made into a poster to be included in the community care package when people are confronted with the decision to place their parent or loved one in care. Thanks, my friend, for this deep and thoughtful graphic novel. What a wonderful kind of way to wrap up our evening. And I'm going to throw it over to you, Susan.
John wants to say something. John Barker, you want to say something quickly?
Oh,
Well,
sorry.
Susan, you know this, but I was one thing I did not mention earlier. As you know, we have an adult son with a disability, so a lot of what you were talking about resonated with us in terms of dealing with a system, trying to get in place, trying to get service, he's now living in a group home, how you go, and the same sense of money driving the system as opposed to
Humanity.
and that same notion that you talked about of the bed, not the person.
Yeah.
And it was something that came to us as we were listening to your conversation, and I just wanted to sort of throw that into the mix, that there was I see the parallels in some of the journey that we took.
John Barker and I, well, John Barker is another Susan, or else I'm another John Barker, because John is a real advocate in Ontario. Yeah, to the detriment of his health. Anyway, but he continues on, and Ontario is better for it, I certainly think. I would like now to thank so many people. I don't know, are we going to be like cut off or what? Do I have time to thank people?
You have time to thank people, and we are just using a computer-generated system to identify the names of the 3 winners. So we'll be announcing that shortly.
Okay.
Go for it, Susan.
Okay, first of all, John Allen is my husband. And I don't know, like many years ago at a barbecue or something, I met a man and I laughed at all his jokes. Turns out he was kind, intelligent, optimistic, and generous. And I don't know, I'm getting all teary, but if I hadn't met him, I don't know what my life would be. Anyway, we had 2 children, Michael and Grace, and they are also kind, optimistic, generous, and are making a difference in their chosen fields. And they roll their eyes at me an awful lot, but I think they do that out of love and, and not my computer skills. I don't know. Okay, so tech support. More than tech support. So when I was still working in government, I thought, I can't, or not government, I was working in the hospital system then, but the writing is pointless. How can I make cartoons to communicate? And so I inquired, and Colleen is not an ageist because she met me, and turns out my workplace wasn't too interested in communicating with cartoons, but Colleen helped me make my very first zine about my passion for Kate Middleton. It was kind of ridiculous, but it actually sold at a comic store in London, England for a while. So that was good. Andy Brown and Sarah Conundrum, they probably didn't know how little I knew. Anyway, they bore with me. So that's great. Thank you. University of King's College, Don Sedgwick, I saw him on the call. I don't know if he's still on, but he believed in this. Like before I even applied, we had coffee, and he thought it was a good idea, and I didn't know what I was doing, but thank you, Don. My mentors, Jane Silcock, Harry Thurston, and Kim Pittaway, who are all outstanding authors. They shaped the book, they shaped the story. So go buy their books, because anyway, they're tremendous writers, but in addition, they're tremendous mentors. I have been, I have had so many supportive friends through this. In particular, there's a group, we call ourselves the Suffragettes, and not one of them is judgy. Isn't that nice to have friends who are so embracing and tolerant and kind? Of course, I thank I have to thank posthumously my mother and my father and my brother, because I learned so much from them, and I couldn't have even started to learn if they hadn't obviously imbued me with something, you know, some curiosity, some intelligence. Healthcare workers, Heather Heyman and Adam, is it? Anyway, wonderful healthcare workers, but all healthcare workers who have been under such strain in long-term care and hospitals, obviously under COVID. You know, they do such amazing work, and they're so smart and they're so strong. Anyway, I have such respect for healthcare workers. I also want to thank the generosity of the Canada Council. I got a grant. That seems like a huge achievement, but Colleen, who also knows how to apply for a Canada Council grant, helped me with that. Arts Nova Scotia also helped support this. So I'm also very thankful to be in Canada in general. I hope we all appreciate the freedom of expression that we are allowed here, the tolerance in this country. We have work to do, obviously, but we discuss it. Anyway, I'm very grateful, very fortunate to have been born in Canada. Heather, thank you. Heather has recently helped me a lot, and I look forward to working with you for the next year, just in case you didn't know.
Right back at you.
I thank you all so much for coming. It's so nice to see your names and your faces here, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan, and thanks everybody for inviting us into your living rooms. It's not a book launch with Propeller Beer, but it's certainly been a wonderful evening. A couple of final wrap-ups, and then I have the 3 contest winners that I'm going to ask. Once I read your names, I see some people holding their breath. Once I read your names, if you can just reach out, what I'm going to do, if you could just reach out to or put your address in the chat, and we'll be able to mail it off to you. Susan has to sign it for you first.
Yeah.
A couple of comments while we're just wrapping up here. Deborah MacLeod says, congratulations, Susan, a wonderful contribution, which is no doubt is going to have a big impact. Enjoy the break. Probably won't be too long. And we have Marieland Mike is actually Ellen.
Hi, Ellen.
She says she has the same tech skills as her dear friend Susan. Laura Roy says, thanks for doing this. And Jane Doucette says, what a lovely launch. I can't wait to read your book and have that lunch we keep on talking about. Jill says, lovely event, probably better than in person because we could hear all the discussion. Congratulations, Susan. I look forward to reading your book. And many, many, many more thank yous that we'll relay and read after this is done. The winners, drum roll please, are Catherine, who is showing up just as Catherine here on Zoom. So if you want to just message us your mailing address, if you feel comfortable doing that, Catherine, or sending us a phone number that we can reach you at, we'll arrange to get a signed copy to you. Deborah MacLeod, you are also a winner. And John Barker, you are also a winner. Congratulations to you all. And any parting words, Susan, before we wrap up?
Just so much appreciation for you coming and participating, I think, in what is a very important discussion that we all need to bring forward, and we all need to do some soul searching as well as to how we can make a difference. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening and happy reading.
Thank you. So do I just leave? Is that what I do?
Susan and Colleen, do you want to just hang on?
Okay, okay, we'll hang on. Bye, everybody.
I just want you to see all the wonderful messages here from people.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, it's John here. I'm sorry to bother you. Oh, okay. Do I just put something in chat and that'll give you the address?
Yes,
Well,
please. John.
Heather,
Yeah.
I can give you John's address. So
Okay,
John,
perfect.
don't worry about it. I can do that.
Okay.
Thanks, Susan. Wonderful to be here. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Susan, this is Don Sedgwick. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Dawn. Nice to see you. Been
Oh,
ages.
Yes, it has been ages. Congratulations, and it's been a wonderful evening, and all the praises for you is so well deserved. I tip my hat to you. I remember that meeting, and I thought this woman is so determined. You just exuded confidence, even if you didn't have it at the moment. You exuded it, and there was no way that we could do anything but offer our very best support. And I'm so excited to see today what you've accomplished. Well done.
Well, thank you, Dawn. And I couldn't have done it without Kings. And that wasn't confidence. That was passion about things got to change. It's got to change.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Well, I'm sure I know your book, and you will be a catalyst for even more change. It is needed, and again, hats off to you. Well done. Well done.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you.
All right, you take care.
You too. Hope to see you after
All right.
COVID.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, Yolanda. You've got you're muted.